On today's show, we're going to be talking about land because essentially every war that we have ever seen in history has been about land. Now, when we talk about black folks in America, we are talking about a people who mainly live in the South around land that we could be using, that we could be buying up, and that we could be farming so we can feed ourselves and so we don't have to be dependent on the enemy to feed us. So on today's broadcast, brothers and sisters, it's all about land, development, farming, and how to do for self. I got my brother Phantom on the line today, and he's going to be dropping some knowledge and some information. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, sir. What is your take on black people in America as far as land is concerned?
Well, my take on us being on land and how our situation is right now in America, I feel that we are doing ourselves injustice by not providing our own food, at least. For the simple fact, according to a study done at the University of South Carolina, it's called Minorities in Rural America, more than 34%, approximately 5 million people, black people, live in the country already, but only 7.8 to 5.2% of them even do agriculture, which means we have an inadequate number to even feed ourselves with.
So what you're saying is that we have 5 million black people who are living in rural country areas of America, but only around 7 to 8% of those brothers and sisters are actually farming the land and growing food?
Yeah, actually, they're only 7.8, basically 8% are only in the agriculture-based field in those areas. Only 8%. And that's a shame because that number cannot sustain, they can't sustain the population of black people.
In my research, I have found out that black farmers in America only represent 1% of farmers in this entire nation. What do you think this means for black people?
Well, us being 1% of farmers in the United States, that number is a very shameful. 1%. You telling me of what 48, roughly 45 million black folks in this country, and only 1% of us is farm. That's letting you know right there that we're getting ruled out. We've become dependent. We can't even produce our own food. We can't even feed ourselves. Yes. I'm ashamed of this.
Yes, sir. A nation that cannot feed itself will soon die out. We are completely dependent on our enemies to feed us and to feed our babies. Well, we know what type of chemicals, the GMOs, and all these different chemicals that they are putting into the food that is destroying the bodies of our people. It's destroying the health. And you can see so many African Americans, so-called African Americans, who are in the worst of shape. Brother, I wanted to talk about the brothers and sisters who live in the big cities, such as Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, New York City, where the brothers are living in urban areas. Do you think it would be beneficial for the brothers and sisters in the urban areas to return to the country and farm the land?
For us to sustain ourselves as black people, if we want to become the nation that we should be, yes, I think it would be beneficial for us to go back to the South, for the simple fact that most of the agriculture areas in the United States still follow a historic pattern. Most likely in the states, well, my home state of South Carolina, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, even areas of Kentucky and West Virginia. And it will be beneficial for the simple fact that we'll be able to sustain ourselves economically and most definitely physically if we can produce our own food. And plus, there's plenty of land in the South that that we can go back to. Ever since the Great Migration, we black folks left their land. So yeah, I think it'll be beneficial for black folks to return back to the South and form our own land and manufacture our own food.
Yes, sir. I was just talking to a sister yesterday, and she's from Georgia, and she was telling me that right now, all over the state of Georgia, land is at a very low price. Like, you could get land for pennies on the dollar right now. So to all the brothers and sisters out there listening to this, just know that there's land all over the South that can be purchased, that you can build farms on and be able to grow your own food and not only feed your family, but able to feed other brothers and sisters and be able to make money from the farm. You see, because as long as we stay in these cities, we're committing suicide. Only a fool would continue to want to be dependent on their open enemies to feed them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And one of the problems that we have is that for the money that we are paying in rent in these inner cities, in these urban areas, we could have took that money and bought land. In places in New York, they're paying $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, sometimes even $1,300 just for rent. And there's places in the South where $1,000 is 1 acre of land. $1,200 is an acre of land. You see?
Yeah.
So we definitely got to go back to the land if we want to survive, because real talk, black people, we dying out.
Yes, we are.
So do you got anything else that you would like to add about this land loss and what we need to do to get back to the land in America?
Well, it's like, the one thing that I see is this: we have ever since integration, we have become more drawn towards going towards the urban areas. Mm-hmm. When in fact, a lot of the urban areas, when they sprawled up, they didn't want us there. They didn't include us there. And that's why even within the urban community, even with black folks in the urban sector, which they do economically, they do slightly better. It's not a whole lot better than us in the country. They basically make less and live worse than we do, for simple fact they're in an environment to which they're 100% dependent on our enemy to do everything for them, everything. And I was like, I think that black people need to get to the point to where, hey, sometimes what you had is not so bad. So I feel that black folks need to go back to, we do need to go back and do our own thing. That's the only thing I would like to add towards this.
Yes, sir. And I think black people have to look at it in terms of this. They have to ask themselves this powerful question: how would my family be able to eat if the enemy was to close down all of the grocery stores? Look at our people. You mentioned the Great Migration, of all of those thousands of our ancestors who left the South and went to these big cities such as Detroit, and New York City, and Chicago. And they went to these cities and lost the relationship with the land. So many of our brothers and sisters don't know how to hunt for food. They don't know how to go out here and fish. They don't have no type of relationship with the land.
No natural skills.
Yes, sir. So what does that make them? That makes our people very vulnerable. And that's why I always refer to African Americans as a colony in America, because they are not producing anything. They're just consuming. And so since we are not producing anything, then the enemy can easily starve us out. And recently, what I have been seeing a lot of brothers and sisters from these big cities who are coming back to the South. So it's happening slowly but surely. But what we need is definitely more brothers and sisters to start looking at the land, start going to college and learning about agriculture and learning about what does it take to run a farm and to operate a farm. So we do not become extinct as a nation.
Yeah, because if we don't, go back and learn how to produce our own food and do agriculture, I'm saying this from my estimate, from the way I see it, because how fast we consume. Black people be wiped out in the next 15 to 20 years if we don't start to control our own food. For the simple fact now, the white man realized one thing when we left the South from the migration. He came back and started buying up that land.
Yes, sir.
He bought a lot of it. So the land that's left now, we need to grab, because black folks, we need to get into our business self and our survival self. Of the number one things that we need are land, water, food, and clothes.
Yes, sir.
And it's like we're not in control of none of it. Like you said, if the enemy decided to cut us off tomorrow, we would be dead in 2 weeks.
Yes,
because
sir.
Because we've lost our natural skills, our relationship with the land, like you said. Like my great grandmother, she got a relationship with the land. My great great granddad, which was her father, he was a sharecropper. He was a farmer. They had a giant farm. I think my grandmother said that their farm was over 1,000 acres back then. My grandmother learned how to grow her own thing. Mm-hmm. Like right now, in the summertime back home in South Carolina, in her house, her little bit of land that she has now, my grandmother grows her own corn, tomatoes, okra, peppers. She do all that stuff herself. She doesn't have to go to the grocery store to buy her fruits and vegetables and things like that in the summertime, because she grows those things herself, self-sufficient.
Yes, sir. And I think it's very important that our people understand that we are a farming people. We have always been an agricultural people. When they brought our ancestors over here on the slave ships from Africa, we was the one teaching the white man how to grow rice and all of these various crops, because we was already farmers in Africa for thousands upon thousands of years. We have been doing this. Only recently have we lost contact with the land. And another thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that, brothers and sisters, we could, if we were organized, we would be putting our money together and we would be buying this land up as a cooperative. Like we could all put our money in a pot and go buy up 100 acres and farm that land and divide it.
That's what the Jew and all the rest of these races of people do.
Right. And divide it up amongst each other. Just look at the Amish. The Amish have their own land base, so they're able to grow their own food. They're self-sufficient, and we got to get back to that. Land is power, brothers and sisters. Never forget that. We have to start working on the mind. We are out of our minds. Our people would rather focus on buying rims, buying clothes, buying jewelry, buying alcohol, wanting to look good, materialism, as opposed to taking that money and investing in the land. Because like I said when the broadcast first came on, every single war that you have ever seen was fought over land. And we have to ask ourselves, why does the white man not want to sell his land? Why does the white man fight so hard to control the land? Because the land is the power. When you control the land, then you control the water. When you control the land, then you can grow your own cotton and make your own clothes. When you control the land, you can raise your own cattle, and you can skin those cattle and take their fur and make your own boots and make your own shoes. You see? So 2016, let's get back to the land. Yahoo!